You are standing in the checkout line at the grocery store, staring at your phone. A political video makes your heart rate spike, but the top comment says it is an AI deepfake. Then the next reply claims the first comment was deployed by a foreign bot network to hide the truth. You look up from the screen. Someone is buying avocados. The fluorescent lights hum. The physical environment is entirely stable, but inside your head, the ground has completely liquefied. You suddenly have no idea what is real or who to trust. We are breathing cognitive smog. The shared psychological environment has become so saturated with synthetic, unverified media that it is nearly impossible to navigate. And the immediate societal reflex is to point a finger straight at artificial intelligence for causing the disorientation. But artificial intelligence did not break our shared world. Consensus reality was never a default state of nature. It was an active, mutual practice. A practice we failed to maintain long before the algorithms arrived. Maintaining a shared reality requires a mechanism you could call the handshake, not the literal gesture of grabbing someone's palm. It is the continuous biological synchronization of two primate nervous systems, pinging each other to confirm, yes, I see what you see, and I commit to this reality with you. That mutual confirmation is unglamorous, heavy labor. It is meeting a stranger's eye when a car runs a red light. It is standing in silence at a funeral. Over the last 2 generations, we have systematically retreated from those small daily acts of friction, allowing the muscle of human connection to atrophy. Artificial intelligence is simply the technology that walked into the room long after the wake had already started. It is being mistaken for the killer when we were the ones who vacated the space. By walking away from the manual labor of dealing with other humans, we created a massive psychological void. The machine is now rushing in to fill that exact vacuum with a frictionless, perfectly personalized substitute, synthetic intimacy. In a strictly medical sense, you do not attach a prosthetic to a healthy limb. You use a prosthetic to compensate for a faculty that is already lost or degrading. A crutch bears your weight while a broken bone knits back together. But if you continually offload your psychological weight onto an AI companion for validation and witnessing, the healthy biological limb beneath it will inevitably waste away. Zooming out, this pattern of technological isolation is driven by a larger historical engine. We tell ourselves a linear story of progress, where new tools constantly liberate us. In reality, history oscillates. Decentralization and reconsolidation are 2 alternating phases of the exact same cycle. The printing press liberated information, but fractured European reality. Railroads spread commerce across continents and built the Gilded Age monopolies. The internet shattered media gatekeepers, only to replace them with platform feudalism, an absolute oligopoly of attention controlled by a handful of centralized algorithms. Now, artificial intelligence promises to distribute genius-level cognition to anyone with a smartphone. Yet running those models requires terrifying concentrations of fresh water, dedicated power grids, and tens of billions of dollars in silicon chips. This chart shows the widening gap between human capability and our ability to socially digest it. The top line traces what our technology allows us to do, which accelerates exponentially. The bottom line is our capacity to integrate those changes into culture and law. Look at the intervals of stability between historical shifts. Hunter-gatherer bands maintained their social structure for roughly 50,000 years. When agriculture created cities and hierarchies, that new paradigm held for 10,000 years. The intervals keep compressing geometrically. The printing press brought 250 years of stability, the Industrial Revolution 150. The mass media era lasted 50 years. The smartphone and social media age held for barely 12. We are now expecting human society to completely cognitively digest the artificial intelligence revolution in 5 to 7 years. That geometric acceleration directly collides with our biology. Technology stales on Moore's law. A human brain takes 25 years just to reach baseline maturity. A population of primates cannot upgrade its firmware to match silicon. Because we cannot digest the speed of the machine, we burn immense caloric energy trying to filter our environment, acting as the exhausted forensic editors of our own feeds, millisecond by millisecond. If any teenager in a basement can instantly generate complex software code, flawless marketing copy, and synthetic art in 10 seconds, the intrinsic value of that production drops to zero. When infinite information and intelligence saturate the environment, an entirely different set of human faculties becomes valuable. Coherent identity, durable mutual trust, and a shared interpretable reality are the true scarce goods of the coming cognitive age. Protecting those goods requires reality infrastructure. We have to build intentional social scaffolding that protects those scarce resources by respecting the hard limits of our own nervous systems. Based on the size of the human neocortex, the anthropologist Robin Dunbar theorized that there is a strict biological upper limit to the number of stable, meaningful relationships a person can maintain. That cognitive ceiling sits at roughly 150 people. Structuring interactions inside small, closed rehearsal chambers, capped at that biological limit, forces psychological adulthood. If you cannot simply block someone and swipe away, you have to practice the deeply uncomfortable act of listening, regulating your emotions, and repairing the breach when friction occurs. But sealing a small group of people off from a polluted macro world carries severe risks. Historically, closed systems that retreat from reality easily devolve into paranoid, highly coercive echo chambers. There is a highly effective structural defense mechanism to keep a small community permeable: self-deprecation. A healthy system requires the humility to recognize the absurdity of its own construction. Any trust architecture that loses the capacity to laugh at its own rules will rapidly stiffen into rigid dogma. If a group takes itself entirely seriously, the lifeboat becomes a prison. We are finding out that consensus reality is a perishable good. The atmospheric commons of trust no longer exists by default. The handshake must be intentionally designed and manually practiced. The machine is doing everything in its power to flawlessly synthesize intimacy, but it cannot feel the friction of the real world. That is your heavy lifting. You have to choose who you will reach toward to perform the manual labor of reality today, building the handshake. Together. Join the practice at DunbarrioSolo.com for more on the